This week on the High Limit Room, Tanner Thorson joins the show to talk all kinds of different things, including the progress of his Rod Gross Motorsports team, how far they have come in the last 3 years, the 2019 highway crash that nearly ended his racing career, and the famous pass from Paris Auto Speedway back in 2015 at the Turkey Night Grand Prix, where he slid Christopher Bell from a straightaway behind. All of that and more on this week's edition of the High Limit Room. Now, before we get to Tanner Thorson, a couple of racing items and some news items that have came out over the last few days include Brad Sweet getting the win during the NARC season opener, NARC After Dark. The shenanigans were already underway for 2026 with that series. Brad Sweet, though, his first night in the Kevin Kozlowski W car with Paul Silva on the wrenches. They were able to get the victory at the Merced Speedway in relatively dominating fashion on a very, very fast racetrack. Justin Sanders, Shane Golovic, Mitchell Moles, all kinds of other guys were up there towards the front of the field, but it was the Big Cat getting the win in semi-retirement here. So congrats to Brad Sweet on the victory. We'll see more of him in the W and the 94 car later on this summer. Also taking place this last weekend was the Central Arizona Raceway, where Levi Hillier and Justin Peck, teammates for Kevin Rudeen, able to go back to victory lane, back-to-back nights over there at Arizona. It was Justin Peck on night number 1, and Levi Hillier, the young 15-year-old from up there in Washington, able to get his first ever ASCS victory. So congrats to Peck and Hillier and Rudeen Racing, as they are now set to get their 410 season underway in the next couple of weeks with High Limit Racing. Also, Sheldon Hodenshield got his first win with KCP Racing, his new race team in 2026, over at Volusia Speedway Park for Bike Week. As of this recording, we have not seen the winner on Monday night, but Sheldon Hodenshield, the winner on Sunday over there at Bike Week down in Florida. Now, coming up this weekend is the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series as they get back underway at the Golden Isles Speedway in Georgia. So if you're a late model fan, make sure to watch that one. Also, if you're a sprint car fan, even of the 360 variety, of course, the Silver Cup at Silver Dollar Speedway in Chico, California gets underway this upcoming weekend as well. So if you want to see some tight bull ring action with a big car count at one of the most famous facilities in all of the United States, make sure to check that out on FloRacing. Also, High Limit Racing is back in action 10 days from this recording on March 12th at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway Dirt Track. That is the season opener. So make sure to get your FloRacing subscription today so you don't miss out on any of the action that is upcoming on FloRacing.com. Now, let's jump over to Tanner Thorson. All right, welcome back to the High Limit Room. This week we have high roller Tanner Thorson joining us. Tanner, it's been a pretty busy off season for you guys. I know you were telling us before we came on here that you guys are kind of wrapping some cars and whatnot right now, getting everything ready to go. How excited are you? How much are you looking forward to getting the season underway, especially after how 2025 ended with you guys get a couple wins?
Yeah, I'm excited. I think this off season's been probably the best one yet, just as far as just having everything, ready and prepared. We were able to go test a couple days ago and just kind of shake some stuff down and try some stuff. And, I think this year's gonna be good. I'm really looking forward to it.
Tanner, I think a lot of people would be surprised, maybe not surprised, but just like to know that the amount of testing that teams can do, you guys don't have much time to test because you're racing so much, right? When sprint car season opens, there's not a lot of free time to go test and try stuff. I watched your interview on the Dirt Parlor with Gordy Gundaker and Don Martin, and I got to say, that was a great show. I thought that was really entertaining. If people haven't watched that, they should. You gave lots of great insight and really good answers. I wish you'd talk to me that much. I might change my name to Gordy so you give me those kind of answers at the racetrack. What can a team learn while testing? And I'm not asking for your setup book, but what are some vague things that you guys go and experiment with when you go test?
I think a lot of our testing just comes down to comfortability. As far as me just being comfortable, and a lot of our test the other day was just to kind of get me acclimated back to the wing car from running Chili Bowl. And I think that's something that obviously I've struggled with the wing car a little bit when we get onto the big tracks, is just having that midget and non-wing style to my driving. And Usually by the end of the night, I move up about 15 spots where we're at on the big track, and then and it's over, and then we go to the next track, So, just work on our stuff. We got a new, fresh, Ryder racing engines, that we wanted to go, try, and, just kind of just shake stuff down. We built, two cars complete from the ground up again. And, we're sticking with the 4 coils, and, finally got Stevie off the porch to go down and go test a little bit. And, big shocker is I got him tricked into coming to Vegas. So we just, had to get him kind of acclimated back to the race car a little bit.
That is indeed big. Now, you mentioned there that you got some new Ryder engines, and it seems like, I mean, maybe not, but from what I've kind of gathered just as a guy looking from far away, it seems like maybe some upgrades to the team here over the off season. I saw Blackbeard put out the post about the car and the trailer. Now, did you guys get a new trailer this year, or is it the same trailer with a different wrap on it? Because that was kind of confusing there.
Yeah, it's same trailer. We just got it wrapped finally. I think that's the first time besides outside of KKM that I've had a trailer that's been wrapped. So, pretty cool. Just got to show the guys that, help us out and support us some love. We've been wanting to wrap it for the last couple of years and just come down to a lot more of the CDL side of it. And Brenton's got his CDL now. And, so we're 100% legal going up and down the road now. So, it looks good. I'm excited. Saw it roll into the racetrack the other day when we tested. I'm like, wow, that thing looks really good. So, Felker's here right now wrapping our race cars and all of our wings and stuff, and just getting us kind of prepped and ready to go.
You kind of just hit on it in the answer to my first question a minute ago when you talked about comfortability, but I'm going to ask you anyway. You admitted to me and to pretty much anybody that talked to you last year at High Limit that qualifying was your guys' biggest struggle, right? But you just gave a great answer, I thought, in terms of like, well, we went to a lot of places with a new package to us and a lot of new tracks, and just getting comfortable is the key, right? But last year you had 7 races on my count where you passed 10 cars or more in the feature. You went 12th to 1st at Lernerville. You went plus 12 at Vegas, plus 12 at Texas in the spring. That's kind of funny considering you're a self-proclaimed big track hater. You went plus 12 at Eagle. You went plus 9 at Port Royal. Again, a big track. So, other than comfortability, if there is anything, what's the biggest difference to you between a good qualifying car and a good race car? Because they are different things at the end of the day, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I always joke, like, I feel like we have probably the most consistent and one of the best race cars in the country. We just don't have the best qualifying car. And sprint car racing's that way now, where it's, qualifying based. Everybody, usually, you can see it at Volusia, like, you start on the front row there, you have a good shot at, making the dash or whatever. And, I think that's just kind of the same thing with us. I think a lot of our drawbacks have just been kind of our motors. We've slowly transitioned into getting riders, this year, and we got 2, there towards the middle to end of last year. And, my 2 quick times last year were both with a rider. So, and I felt like our qualifying efforts were just way better. And then Lernerville, we had our Capetta back and it was healthy and it was good. And, we got really good motors. We got 4 riders and 1 Capetta right now. And, I think that's the ultimate thing. It's called motorsports for a reason. And, I think your motors have to be absolute hitters. And, this new rider that we just got, that was kind of my big thing is I wanted to go see how it ran. So we took it out, and first thing I said to Stevie, I was like, holy shit, this motor rips. Like, I haven't felt a motor like that in a long time. I think the last time I felt a motor that ran that hard was our Richie Rich, 88 car, that Speedway that we got from Modder. That just ripped just all the way through the RPM range. So, I'm looking forward to it. Stevie's, got some old school tricks up his sleeve that he wanted to go test the other day. And, hopefully we can, bust out at Vegas, wide open and start off, our year on a good foot, and hopefully we can qualify good.
Yeah, you said it there. I mean, 2 quick times there at the end of last year, so it definitely looked like the qualifying speed was starting to turn the right direction. Now, I wanted to backtrack a little bit here too. You mentioned that Andrew Felker is over there wrapping your cars, and Blackbeard put out that design. And one thing that's been fun here with your car over the last 2 years is you might be the only guy that I've ever seen been sponsored by a book, right? A book on the side of the car. And this year, it's every year you got a different book on the side of it. I'm looking at a picture of it, and I think it's Chaotic. Is that the name of the book? And I don't know obviously what it's about, but you got the New York Times best-selling author on the side of the car. The books in the past have been a little risque. Is that the same deal here with Chaotic this year? Can you tell us maybe a little bit about that book, maybe, or the author?
Yeah. So it's Jason and Chantel. That's what that JST Motorsports is. They're very heavily invested in racing. Jason and his wife, I think Chantel likes it more than Jason sometimes, but she writes, I want to call it, I call it dark or heavy romance, style books. But yeah, man, it's what it takes to get stuff up and down the road, they love racing. They're turned out to be really good friends of Shay's and mine as well. And like we got out to dinner together, and it's just, they live probably 8 minutes down the road from me. And, like I said, they're just heavily invested in racing and love the sport and love the morale it brings, So, I'm not a very much of a book reader, and not necessarily that book, but in general, I think I've read a total of maybe 4 or 5 page book in my entire life. So I always use the old Google to look up the book notes or whatever. So, I'm not going to get into book reading at this age, since I haven't started, but, no, everybody I talk to that sorry, my dogs are crazy. Hey, no.
Not the first dog we've had problems with here on the High Limit Room. Tyler Courtney.
Yeah.
We're talking about you, if he's watching, by chance.
Sorry about that. Sorry. So everybody I talk to, my friends' wives, like, they all know who she is. And it's crazy to think, like, I mean, we didn't know who she was. Like, even like when I first met Jason came into Stevie's shop to buy parts and stuff. And, how's it going? Blah, blah. And a guy had brought him in and he introduced us. And I mean, didn't even know, how big of a deal him and his wife actually were. And like you said, New York Times bestseller, that's a big deal. Like, and then, we got to know them, and just down to earth people. It's just crazy. I mean, they had nothing growing up, and just, she wanted to write books and got into it. And now she's one of the top authors in that genre of books. So, I think she had more people standing in line at Chili Bowl and Shootout the first year I went there with them than Kyle Busch and Larson. There was people just stacked up with books full of, or bags full of books for her to sign them. It's crazy, like, to see how the book world, and like, I get Facebook comments and posts and stuff about how crazy it is that she's on a book, and like, they come to the races, and now I'm their favorite driver and stuff. It was cool how, like, the two worlds, clashed. So, it's been definitely a big hit, and, she comes out with a new book, and that's what goes on the car, and it's the next best thing. So, I feel like that's kind of our motto and our morale too here is, like, she's coming out with something better. Like, we're going to produce better and, putting that next best foot forward.
If I heard you right, Tanner, you said maybe in your life you've read 1 4 or 5 page book, which, I mean, that puts you miles ahead of Chase Rodman. So honestly, you're not doing that bad. Chaotic, the name of the book, could also be used to describe your hair sometimes when you take the helmet off, but I only can say that because I don't have any hair. Hey, yeah, I was going to say it before anybody else could. When I knew you through, obviously, your midget racing, and I was at USAC in 21 when you had that great year. What was it, like 6 or 7 wins with Andy Reinbold?
Oh, when you said I destroyed.
Oh, Clear. Yeah. I was going to. I was gonna say was
that year.
I learned one thing about you, and it's that you did not run into CJ Leary off turn 2 at where was that, Bloomington or no, Lincoln Park?
Nope.
Yeah, Lincoln Park. You
Park.
didn't hit him, but nobody cares, and they're happy I'm not the USAC announcer anymore. After 2021, you go and do a little like a partial outlaw schedule with Andy Reinbold and Todd Underwood. And I made a video about you guys, and it was fun to kind of watch you and that team sort of figure everything out. Obviously, that wasn't your debut in wing racing. From the notes I could find, your first outlaw feature you ever make is back in 2015. You go 13th to 2nd at Mini Gold Cup at Silver Dollar in Chico. So right from the get-go, you know, it was obvious that you could do this wing racing thing. But my question is, if you look back on that 2022 partial schedule that you did with Andy and Todd, what have you learned about wing racing, about driving them, about setting them up, about building them, about whatever that you really, really wish you would have known back in 2022 when you guys were doing that partial outlaw schedule?
That everything matters. I mean, every little thing. I've learned more about fuel systems and motors and stuff here, even in the last half of the year, this last half of 2025, than I didn't even think was possible. From Stevie, Ryder, Capetta, Ricky Warner, like a little bit, you know, and just there's so much more to it than what people think. And the motors are the big thing. I mean, that your stuff has to run. And I feel like that's where we lacked a little bit in 2022. And I've said it then, I'll say it again. It's like, you gotta have a heavy hitter, and you know, and that's my big thing, and bodies and wings and just everything. I mean, it all matters. There's nothing that doesn't get unnoticed or not touched, you know, that has to get some sort of finger laid on it to make it better or change something. And I feel like that's where our program has gotten, you know, way better here lately, is just the simple facts of everything is getting looked at, and everything's getting touched, and everything's getting some sort of assessment to make better or whatnot. And like I got friends down in North Carolina that, you know, have access to aero engineers and stuff like that, you know, it just, like, you can't tell me Ricky Warner hasn't had over the years that's made his stuff better. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We've changed a couple little things, but we don't want to change too much and get way off base. So changed a couple things this year that we're going to try to start the season off, to see if we can't get that start off a little bit better, and then we'll go from there.
I feel like it's pretty rare these days in wing sprint car racing, especially when it comes to the national scene, for a brand new team to come in and immediately go to that side of things, right? Maybe a new team will come in, they'll run locally, they'll run regionally, but that was not the case with you and Rod Gross Motorsports 2024. I think we all know the story by now. I mean, the team was put together in a couple weeks. You and Brent Marvel, Lee Lindgren, and a couple other guys, you know, were trying to make a go of it down there at East Bay. Remember when you guys showed up there and were on the podium the first race, right? I mean, it's crazy that it's only been, I mean, now it's been 2 years, going into year 3. You got 2 national wins under your belt now. You got that Gold Cup prelim night win as well. When you think back to 2024, how crazy is it to think that you guys have come such a long ways in such a short amount of time with this team?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I said before, I've said it a couple times, like, I didn't even know Rod. Rod didn't, we never had met. We were supposed to meet at the Grove, and it started raining, and I didn't think the race was going to get in, so he left, and then I never got to meet him in person. And he's literally sent me a picture of himself so I knew what he looked like. And it's crazy. But to think now, like you said, like, we didn't start off locally, and like we were going to originally, and then the High Limit came out with their schedule and this charter deal, and my car owner was like, Rod was like, we need to do this. And I mean, I had my 32-foot midget trailer that we were going to race out of just locally and 20 races. And like, I'm like, well, we can't use this trailer. We can't use my quad that I have. It barely pushes my midget. Like, we're going to have to go buy some stuff. And he's like, well, what do we need? And I gave him a list of everything. And he's like, okay. When of course, like, it doesn't just show up. But yeah, it's crazy. I didn't think it was going to be hard, but I didn't realize it was going to be this hard, right? Like I knew it wasn't going to be a simple task, but it just definitely humbling, right? I think humbling is probably the best way to put it. Is you can't, like I said before, you can't like not look at all the small things anymore. And like local racing, I feel like you can get away with not doing certain things and you're okay. But when you step out on the big stage, it's definitely a humbling sport for sure. And I always say the one win, takes care of all the 150 wins you didn't have before that or whatever. So, when I said this at the banquet last year, at the end of this year, like I was going to be done racing. I was burnt out, and I was probably race some midget races here and there, but I was kind of going to, my plan was to just go work for Stevie and try to learn that side of everything. And, which I did a lot, and I learned a lot already, but I was burnt out. It was time for me to either do this or be done racing. And it was definitely going to be a hard decision, but it was just it was going to be. And, and then Rod came and saved me from having to retire without really wanting to retire, but just being over it. So, it's, definitely something that I'm going to cherish forever. Just like David Abreu and everybody, my family, everybody that's put in a big part of it, it's definitely quiets me down a little bit talking about it. It just, sometimes I talk to Shay, I'm just like, wow, this is freaking crazy. Like just how it's kind of went from just kind of a gradual slope down to me just being burnt out and worn out, and all the time and effort I put into it and just getting nowhere, and I think a lot of that comes, like a lot of my sourness towards people and stuff comes because I feel like I've put enough effort into stuff and it just no return. And then now, it's kind of come back full circle and been really good to me.
I was going to say, I think humbling, the way you just described that is perfect, right? And not that I think you or anybody else on your team or anybody in high limits tossing and turning at night wondering what Tony thinks, but you guys have all my respect in the world for going through what you did in terms of building that program. And I mean, Tanner, you're the first one to say it, right? There's plenty of people that throw shade at you and talk crap, and you've never let that deter you. And let alone all the naysayers and the doubters, right? That could weigh someone down from doing what they want. You didn't even let the bad results weigh you down. And people don't know what the grind is like out on the road, right? Going from track to track, night after night, car washes and maintenance, and not getting to go home for a long time and having nothing to show for it for long stretches. So that brings me to my next question, because you guys battled it out, right? And again, whatever it's worth to you, you've got all my respect in the world, because I was thoroughly impressed last year and enjoyed watching you guys do what you did. 16 out of 17 features you made. There was a stretch last year. If you take out the Joker's Jackpot feature, you had 16 out of 17 features that you started where you had top 10 finishes. I think that started in May. And then 6 top 5s in those first 7 races, not counting your 2 wins that ended the season, Lernerville and Path Valley. What would you say was the biggest on-track highlight of your 2025 high limit season?
I'd say probably busting out that win. Honestly, there for a while, like you said, we were running second, thirds, just kind of sitting there, just wanting to win so bad, but so happy that we were running so good and just kind of taking it all in. But as soon as I won, man, I've been wanting to win an outlaw race since 2015 when I ran second to Donnie and was going to pass Donnie if they would have thrown the yellow. But because Shane Stewart spun out in 3 and 4, and like they should have thrown a yellow, but they didn't, and whatever. Like from that time on, I was fresh to wing racing, and right then and there, I'm like, dude, I can do this. Like there ain't no problem. Like I'll never forget, and me and Paul Silva definitely had our egos in front of us before, and like we didn't really like each other, and I feel like we've kind of come a little bit closer. But I remember Lee and I going over there and buying parts, and I'm telling him like, hey, I'm gonna run good, like, and he's like, okay, kid, like, whatever.
What year?
Good luck. And I just,
okay.
It's 2015. This is the year this is leading up to that year, my first time racing a wing sprint car. And he's like, whatever. And I don't remember if Thorson was racing that night or not, but like Rico, I was lapping Rico that night. Like we were coming up to lap Rico, and I was just like, I'll always remember just being like, how about that, Silva? Like I remember telling Lee that, and I've never even said that to Silva now, but it's just funny how times have changed, right? And just, I feel like a lot more people are respecting me, and I'm respecting a lot more people because I'm getting respect. And just when we won, like that was just kind of the icing on the cake to be like I'm here to stay, and I'm here to keep winning, and hopefully you respect me. And if you don't, I don't really care, but hopefully you do. And just a big sign of relief. I mean, straight up. A lot of.
But if you couldn't count one of those wins as your highlight, you had a lot of. I know, but if you couldn't, what would you take? Like you talked on the Dirt Parlor about that 10th place at Port Royal, right? A place where you probably didn't really look forward to going to. What was one of those not wins that you look back on and you go? You said on that show it felt like a win. Is it that one? Is it another one? What's a non-win that you look back on and smile when you think about last year?
So I'd say that where were we? Red Cedar ran third to Rico and Larson. I think that was probably the next best thing for myself, my confidence, our team, because we were close again. Like we had one of the fastest race cars there, and Larson and Rico, obviously we grew up racing together, so we kind of knew how to race each other. And I feel like that was my next turning point in our team, and everything was like, you got Ricky Warner and Paul Silva, two of the best in this industry to do it. And we're competing with two young kids, or three, I guess, including myself. All three of us are very young compared to Ricky and Paul. And we're just racing with them. So I feel like that race definitely was an eye opener for a lot of people and ourselves. And, I feel like we have the youngest group of people too, as far as the driver to the car chief to the tire guy. And, I think it just spoke a lot of what we are building and what we have.
You mentioned a few minutes ago that you almost, quit racing. You were burnt out on it. You were kind of done. You wanted to go out, obviously, on your own volition. You were kind of about to be done with it. But one time in your life where you were almost done racing, where, it wasn't, your doing, was 2019, of course. So we're talking about that big wreck that you had on the highway, right? And that was a moment that I remember, because you and I, we go back a long ways, right? I mean, I feel like we're pretty good friends, and I remember that night and reading everything and, texts and whatnot. And, it sounded like there was a point in time where you may not have raced ever again. I think you had like a broken hand or a broken arm or something like that, and there was some issues with your hand or whatever. That was a time where maybe we would have never seen you back in a race car, but of course you've gone on to do some pretty cool things ever since then. Chili Bowl win, 2 high limit wins, bunch of, USAC sprint car wins, right? But take us back to that. How often do you think about that? Obviously you do a lot of driving with high limit up and down the road, but that was obviously a really scary moment, for you in your life and in your career.
Yeah. So, dude, it's crazy because I was actually talking to Shay again about it not long ago, and it's just crazy the way that kind of played out as far as the way the truck burnt down and everything. Like I've been a Ford guy my whole life, and I still am a Ford guy, but I bought a Chevy here recently. But I'm thinking to myself, I was looking up because I actually got out of the sunroof in the dually when we wrecked, and I don't know if it was because of the habit of getting up out of the car or whatnot, but the doors didn't work because it kind of just crinkled the doors so they wouldn't work. So I went up and out, but my new truck doesn't have that big of a sunroof. So I was just thinking about that the other day, and but yeah, it's just crazy. Like I didn't know what the hell was going on when I got in a wreck, right? Like got out and the truck's on fire and everything, and I kind of fall/hop off the top of the truck, have no idea that my right foot is completely shattered. So I fall straight to the ground, and I get up, and I had muscle hanging out of my arm, and I snapped my ulna and a bunch of nerve and tendon issues and stuff. And from that time on, obviously I didn't know what was going on. By the time I passed out on the curb once I got out of the truck, and just in shock, obviously, and got back to the hospital, and the docs got me all hooked back up and drugged up, and I was good, and telling everybody I'm going to come back racing. And doctors telling my parents that like I might not be able to use my right arm or my left arm ever again. And but I didn't know that at that time. Like they're obviously going to hide that from me and whatever, and just kind of see how stuff went. And I went back for my checkups, and the doctors were just like I can't believe how fast you're healing up, and I'm moving my arms and or my arm and my foot and everything, and I was walking on it, and like wasn't supposed to be, but I'm me, so I'm not going to probably listen to the doctor very well, because I'm not very fond of them all. But so yeah, and then I did physical therapy with David Abreu's guy there in St. Helena, California. Best place to be hurt is being there. And yeah, it was just crazy. I remember getting a call from Pete Willoughby, and obviously him and David Abreu were talking and stuff, and he's like, "You want to come run midget week?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah. Like, I want to come." He's like, "Well, are you good?" And I'm like, "I think I'm good. I'm good, and he's like, "Well, I need to make sure you're good." And I was with David. We're driving, I think we're going to go get lunch or something. And he's like, "You need to get cleared. Like, you need to make sure you're cleared." And I was cleared, but I was cleared under my own doing, right? And so he called Pete, or Pete called him, and David's like, "I think he's ready." Like, I was riding a mountain bike up on the vineyard at David's, and David had me I was with his physical therapist, but then I had to ride a bike a big distance, and then I had to put my foot in a ice bath every day. Like, he had me this whole regimen done up, and it was crazy. Next thing I know, I'm on a plane out to midget week. I run second the first night and won the third night at Putnamville, and busted my ass at Bloomington and thought I re-injured my foot again. And from that point on, we raced a little bit more, and then I kind of was just taking it easy. And then I was done at Keys and just kind of sat around, didn't know where I was going to be at again. And I ended up getting hooked up with Brody Hayward and raced a bunch there with the Oil Capital car. And it sucks because you always fall back into what you know, right? And it was midget racing. And I felt like I raced at KKM for way too long, where I needed to be racing, sprint cars. And I did my time at KKM, and very grateful for it. But I also felt like I got held back a lot by Toyota to go race pavement and do all this stuff in pavement that I never ended up getting to do. And that was years of time that I missed racing wing cars. And I think that's where I'm catching back up, and I'm already behind the 8 ball because I'm a non-wing driver or midget driver, and no one has confidence in that, right? To put them in a wing car. And then I don't just have the seat time, and I feel like I'm catching back up to that. And, yeah, so it's been a long road, but we're here, and hopefully we can continue building this program. And I got really good people behind me, so it's gonna just keep building it and not worry about the past and worry about the future.
One of the last things I've got for you here, Tanner, is speaking of Keith Coons. I got a chance to spend a lot of time around him this past January at the Chili Bowl, and I think he mentioned this on the Drivers Project podcast, and whether he said it there or he said it to me in private, Keith Coons is on record as saying, "You're pretty much a mechanical engineer without a degree." And I personally can't think of a higher compliment for a race car driver, right? Because you've said it, it's not that you don't respect the guys who don't work on their stuff, but you really respect the guys who do work on their stuff. And I get it, right? I think that's part of what makes dirt track and sprint car and midget racing romantic is, you don't see guys getting out and working on their stuff at Daytona on Sunday for the 500, right? But in our world, you still do. You're one of the main figures in that. I went to college with a lot of mechanical engineers. They're really smart people. They are way smarter and work way harder than I did in school. So I just got to know, Keith Kuhn says you could be a mechanical engineer, you just don't have the degree. I mean, do you think you could go into a college lecture hall and sit down and do some of the vehicle dynamics and stuff that goes into being a mechanical engineer? I think you could. I just think it's all the test taking and the note taking you might not like so much.
Too many books. Too many books you got to read. No, man, I actually didn't know he said that. And the Dirt Parlor said that he had mentioned something to them about that. And, dude, that's cool. Like Keith and I, we've had our battles. Don't let that fool you. But Keith and I feel like I respect Keith to no end. I mean, he basically, I mean, not just him, obviously, but his organization made my name in the sport. I feel like, obviously when you race outlaw karts and stuff, people might know of you, but they don't know you or know what you're capable of doing. And, when I came back and raced with Keith, he took me under his wing, and, not just him, but everybody that was there. And, I want to say Pete told me I was the only driver that ever worked there and got paid. Like, I mean, I worked there 8 to 5 every day. Wow. And I went and raced. So, I just take it back to wanting to know everything. When I was little, I was always asking questions, and I worked on my go-kart stuff with my dad. And, I love this. Like that was the hard part about me just not wanting to race anymore, was how much I loved it. But I want to know a better way for everything. Like no matter what, it doesn't matter what it is, my personal truck, race car, anything. I want to know what the best thing is and how we could better it. And, and a lot of that's just surrounding yourself with the right people. And, and I think the breakout of my knowledge and learning abilities have been, getting hooked up with Stevie. Stevie is a engineer without a degree. Like that guy is the smartest dude I've ever met in my life, and he has no degree. And I think a lot of that just shows you like you put in the time and the effort and you love what you do, and you learn a lot. And before I met Stevie, I didn't know how to run a mill or a lathe or push buttons on the CNCs. And like, he taught me how to do all of it, like how to make parts. Like we got basically the shell of our sprint car stuff and midget stuff, like without shock towers and anything, like radius rod pickup points. And like, I've done it all. Like I welded them all in and did it all, but it just comes down to just wanting it and wanting to do it and wanting better. So
I've got 2 more things for you before we let you go. One of them concerns 2015, which is a year you've talked about a couple times so far in this interview. But 2015, you won the Turkey Night Grand Prix at Paris Auto Speedway in what was, in my opinion, could be the greatest pass in the history of dirt track racing, when you slid Christopher Bell from turn 2 at Paris, which if you've never seen Paris, it sounds impossible, but it actually happened. The biggest slider of all time. Tyler Burnett, our producer, is going to have to overlay the video while we're talking about this, because it is still unbelievable to this day. You pass Christopher Bell, the next corner, he tries to get you back, and he ballparks it, you go on to win. It was an incredible moment. What do you remember? Because that pass every now and again comes up on social media. I mean, it is literally insane that you were able to pull that off.
So if you watch that race and how it plays out, like you can see I'm way better in 1 and 2, and I'm okay in 3 and 4. Like I know by racing with Bell and Rico and Larson, like if you want to get by them, you got to break their momentum. And like 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5 laps before that, you can watch me just send it off in there. And like, I was literally test sliding, seeing how far I could get, because I was getting off the turn 2 so much harder. I could see me kind of closing on Bell, and I just knew I needed to break his momentum, and if I wanted to win that race. And the lap before that, I had closed up on him really hard getting in there, and I just figured if I hold the throttle another 10 seconds, like I'm gonna be good. And I just held it a little bit longer than I normally had done, and he kind of vanished away from my view, and that was it. But I think that comes down to racing with those guys for so long and learning their abilities and how they're going to react to what you do. That's what these kids nowadays don't understand. like the respect value on that, right? Like I could have drove right through the side of Bell 3 or 4 laps before that, but I didn't. I just stayed patient, and I made sure I was clear enough to where he had an option to turn back underneath me or pass me back. And it was close, but I had sized it up for a couple laps. And I always say, like, I'll give you a couple test sliders usually, unless I'm pissed off at you. I'll give you a couple test sliders to make sure that, you know, I'm going to clear, or that, you know, I'm there. So yeah, it was crazy. I wish midgets still went to Paris, but glad they don't, because I'm not a big track guy on midgets anymore. So that was probably one of my favorite tracks to go in midgets for sure.
That was a bad time to be the USAC announcer. All the Keith cars were the exact. It was KT, it was you, Bell, Larson, Rico. Every car looked the exact same. They just had a different number on it. I remember Scott Delosio in that highlight video was getting people mixed up. Oh, here comes KT. Oh no, that's Thorson. Oh wait, no, that's Rico. It was a disaster. But the last thing I wanted to end this off on with here is this year with High Limit. There's a lot of things to look forward to. Of course, your team, Rod Gross Motorsports, was able to get one of the franchise positions that kicks in this year with the High Roller Club. Of course, we've got a lot of new tracks on the schedule. We add in the Jesse Hockett, Daniel McMillan race at Lucas Oil. I know you're really excited about that. You're a big fan of Lucas Oil Speedway, of course. You got a couple wins last year. Now we're going back to some tracks that you've won at before as well. What is one thing that you're maybe looking forward to the most here in 2026, as the season's about, a week and a half away from getting underway?
So above them all, I'm looking forward to traveling up and down the road with my wife, and especially my kid, honestly. Like, Blakely's walking now, and it's just so cool to see how, like, enthusiastic she is. Like, when I say, hey, you want to go to the shop, she's like ready to rip, like running out the door. But like, that's probably my ultimate thing. Like, over the years, I became more of a family man, where before I wasn't. But I'd say, this year I've been circling in my mind of racetracks that I want to win at, and racetracks I just, like, we have nothing but a chance to win, or like do nothing but run really well. And I'm looking forward to all the new tracks, like tracks that I know no one else has really been to, maybe one or two of the guys, but I feel like I excel on those type of racetracks. And I said this on the Dirt Parlor that, like, and Chase, like, Red Bluff wasn't always the same racetrack every weekend, because they had to tear it down and build it back up. And I felt like that kind of groomed me for being able to figure out racetracks sooner and faster, and learn the line that you need to go and do. So I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, Lucas Oil and Lernerville. Those two tracks, I got them definitely circled, because I feel like we're going to have a really good shot at those. And obviously the West Coast Swing, I'm really looking forward to. The first year, like, I felt like rolling out there, we struggled, and I didn't know why. And I felt like they were tracks that we shouldn't struggle at, because I've raced them before and I know how to get around them, and I've won at them before. And now I'm honestly, I'm just looking forward to the whole season. We got really good running motors and really good people. And I got Britton and TJ back, which Britton's been with us from the start, but I've got the same group of people as far as TJ and Britton on my race car for the second year in a row. So there's no teaching involved going down the road. It's everybody knows what they need to get done. And it makes my job in my life a lot easier to not have to sit there and babysit as much. And, and not necessarily babysit, but just make sure, hey, bud, we got to do this, or hey, got to do that. Like, I don't need to show up to the shop a couple days if I got stuff going on, and I know stuff's going to get done and done right. And, I'm really looking forward to going up and down the road again with Britton and TJ. And, it's 2026, and I feel like it's going to be kind of the highlight of my career. And, looking forward to bringing this car up front more often.
The only teaching that'll be going on is TJ Nichols showing everybody how to bowl, because obviously he was the man at that last year at the Verdeen bowling tournament.
That and him and Brady Forbrook love to lose the tarps and go throw the football around right before engine heat, man. Those guys hate wearing shirts.
They do.
Yeah. TJ's got a little bit of catching up to do to Brady. So
So do I. So, Tanner, yeah.
me too.
All
Me
of
too,
us
I
do.
guess.
too.
Tanner, thanks for jumping on the High Limit Room. Looking forward to seeing how the season goes for you and the 88 team this year. We'll see you in Vegas here not too long from this recording. And good luck this year. We'll see you over in Vegas.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Talk to you.